All right, so once again, thank you very much. Welcome to SeaRUG July 2016. Thank you. I know that there are many other things that you'd rather do on a relatively nice July afternoon, and you usually come for the food and not to listen to me talk, so fail. So I'll get through this real quick, and then we'll get over to the main presentation, which I think, lack of food notwithstanding, should be a really good one. Today we actually have a panel presentation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So we actually have a new sponsor this month in Unifi Labs, and I think it's going to be, their expertise is content management, and this is a topic that I don't think we have covered before. I think this is something that certainly is a challenge for a lot of Revit users and a lot of offices, so this should be really good. Kyle Morin is going to moderate actually a panel discussion made up of a couple of current SeaRUG board members and a very active SeaRUG members. So I think that this will be very interesting. A couple of housekeeping items, and then I'll get out of here. So, of course, this great venue, the food that usually comes, this stuff is all at no charge to you, and our membership keeps growing, and it's a really good, vibrant group. A lot of places around the country have Revit user groups and Autodesk user groups that, quite frankly, are struggling to keep their membership and to stay relevant. The way that we've in the past made this work is through our great sponsors, and the Autodesk resellers used to be our main sponsors for this, but Autodesk is changing the way that they do business, and the whole thing is kind of changing around. So it's great to have people like Unifi come and sponsor a meeting and engage with our group and continue to keep it relevant and continue to keep it available to you. So we're very happy to have them on. And of course, just want to thank everybody that's a sponsor, from the associate partners on up. It's who makes these meetings possible. Like I said, Unifi is new, so I just wanted to recognize that. And also a big thank you to the SeaRUG board members that continue to, volunteer their time to make sure that the topics are relevant, to make sure that things go smoothly, and that we have content that you're going to want to see and you're going to get benefit out of. And participate in meetings like today. So, Rob Bendix used to run the show over here, and now he's an at-large member. And Chris Hubbard has been active with SeaRUG for a long time. He's been a presenter, he's been a board member, and now today he's going to participate on our panel. And me, I'm David DeYarza, and I'm the current sitting president of SeaRUG. So, welcome. Real quick, do have a couple of slides here for some announcements. One of them, this was up last month, if you were here, and it's still, they asked me to keep it up. PCA Structural Solutions is looking for a structural modeler for Revit that's experienced in, obviously modeling structural elements in Revit. You can take a look at the website or email your resume over to Craig at the email that's available there. And also, I didn't have time to put a slide in for this. I just got a text about it literally 20 minutes ago. Cezanne Group is looking for an experienced MEP modeler in Revit. Cezanne is a MEP consultant firm here in town. And I don't have the contact information on the slide, but if you're interested and you're into Revit MEP, just find me after the meeting and I'll be happy to give you that contact information. All right, and last but not least from me up here, I've got two $25 Amazon gift cards, and I've got the names of everybody that RSVP'd here into this envelope, and we'll pick two names out of the hat at the end of the meeting, and two of you will walk out with $25 worth of Amazon merchandise. Anyway, with that said, thanks again to Unifi, and Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you guys are going to introduce Unifi and do a little show, and then we'll get into why don't you go ahead and roll right into the panel right after that. So, Kyle, thanks a lot. One is good, and you can
Okay. Perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Like David said, my name is Kyle Morin. I'm from Unifi Labs, and we make a product called Unifi, which is a cloud platform for managing your Revit content. Has anyone ever heard of Unifi in here? Let me see a show of hands. I'm curious. A couple of you. Okay, cool. Right on. So I'll explain a little bit about slides here. All right, cool. So yeah, that's us, Unifi. What we do again, we have a cloud platform that we help you guys create, organize, access, and manage all of your building content, specifically geared towards Revit, and that's why we're here today talking to you guys. And we built this platform because, you know, we've been in the industry quite a while, and we hear it all the time. I'm sure you guys have a lot of these same either gripes internally, or you hear them within your office, right? Like, you have troubles finding your content. How do you standardize it? How do you make sure everybody has access to the approved content? You know, and how do you make that pain go away? So we set out as a company to help solve some of these problems and ease these pain points. And our mission is really to help unify the entire building life cycle, because a very core part of that is the content that goes in the buildings, right? You can have walls, doors, windows, all that great stuff. All of those little things individually as parts come and make a building. But a building is not done when you just turn it over and you walk away, your certificate of occupancy. That building lives for quite a while, and there's maintenance and things going on there. So there's a lot of information lost, and we're trying to help fix that. Again, you know, this is kind of our typical processes, right? A lot of the communication during the design, construction, and occupancy of a building is very disconnected. I've been on many projects myself. We have a lot of information flows that are not quite streamlined, and a lot of information gets lost during those transfers. So our idea and our mission, again, is to help fix that and solve that. So we want to be a platform that everybody can tie into and share information freely without any information loss, and help out. So Unifi as a company and a product is comprised of kind of 3 tiers. We have our cloud system that is at the core of the scenario. That's where everything is revisioned, hosted, saved, and we'll talk a little bit about that some more. I'll have Ben walk through the software. And that's the main core of it. Then we also have the oh, yeah, there's a question, sure. Can you hear me on the mic? Is that better? Am I too far? Sorry. So nobody heard anything I said? Great. Should we start over? Okay, rolling back now. Apologize. So the cloud platform, again, it's the core. We have our Unifi software itself. That's the part that lives on your computer, and that's what's going to integrate really well with Revit, and that helps us get a lot of cool things like set up workflows, approval processes, get a bunch of analytics into your company. And then all of that's supported on the back end with a whole set of full services that we offer. We have on-demand content creation, we have support and training that we help with, and we have other integration services if you're using different systems, and we help kind of make that happen. And the whole idea of all this is really to deliver some better value, right? And we want to help you guys save time, get better productivity out of your teams, and the entire goal, if we take a step back and look, is to make you guys do better, save money, make money, and it ultimately deliver better products to your clients, which is better buildings, right? That's the end goal. That's why we all try to do better. So some interesting statistics I thought were cool. I threw these up there. We're actually, as of today, we're used in over 70 countries around the globe. We have a custom Elasticsearch engine that we built, and we're averaging less than half a second to find the actual content that people need to get put in. We currently are maintaining and revisioning 2.75 million RFAs alongside a total content of all BIM RVTs, RFAs, text files, all that good stuff, of around 4.25 million pieces of content, which is pretty cool. And then we've also just pulled this statistic that we're seeing on average 71,000 searches across our platform to find stuff. So it's growing pretty quickly, and we're scaling pretty high, and it's really exciting. It's exciting to see people use this. And again, also a little bit more background about us is we're trusted by over hundreds of the leading design firms. Probably many of you guys might be working for some of these firms in this room, and we really appreciate it. And we'd also like to talk to more of you and see if there are some other pain points and problems that we might be able to help you solve. Lastly, if you guys want to learn a little bit more We have an upcoming webinar, looks like next week, the July 27th, I think that's Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We have a library best practices webinar, where we have some folks from Interior Architects and also Harvey's Plumbing. They're going to be on, and they're going to be helping share some of their ideas of like how content management, kind of what we're talking about, but really geared toward Unifi and how it's helping them solve their problems. And if you want to get in on that webinar, you totally can. It's completely open. I created a bit.ly link there if you guys want to go to bit.ly/UnifiLBP. That'll get you to the registration, or if not, if it's easier, you can just email me, and I'll make sure that goes through. So I'll be sticking around, or if you, there will be copies of this presentation as well. So with that, that's a pretty quick overview of who we are and a little bit about what we do and some slides. What I want to do is kind of want to bring Ben Fitch up here, and I want to have him walk through some stuff on how they use Unifi and how it maybe helps them solve some of their issues currently, so you guys get a better idea. Thank you. Hopefully this works. We had some technical difficulties earlier trying to get it set up with VPNs. Who loves VPN?
Okay, so what I'm going to show you real quick is just kind of show you what has made Unifi so useful for us. Just a couple of quick things. There's a lot more than I could cover in just a couple minutes, so, but some of the coolest things I'll show you real quick. So I'm just starting a new project here, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how quick it is and how clumsy it is to insert content the old way, and then also using Unifi. So I'm just gonna go here to my systems and just insert air terminal. And so this is kind of what you would normally end up looking at. And so then our standard is to look at the approved folder first. Unfortunately, it's empty, so there's something wrong. Obviously, let's look at pending. No air terminals there. I guess something is really messed up. So I'm going to go back to my 2014 content because that's where I build everything. And just to speed this up, I'm going, and look at all the stuff I'm having to browse through. Look familiar, anybody? This is like, I'm going to skip the approved one because I know it's not there. So there's a gazillion supply diffusers here. How do I know which one is the right one? So that's one of the problems that we ran into a lot, is that people were putting in the wrong stuff, not our standard stuff, and then saving stuff here, and it just out of control. So instead of getting it from there, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to grab it from Unifi. So here, I'm just going to type in GRD supply. Sorry. And I only get 4 options. And so I want to lay in one. I'm just going to click on the picture. Boom. So you can see it was probably 10 times faster. So that was the one thing. So just inserting content is so much quicker and easier. And it's much more controllable. You put up there only your standard stuff, and then people, that's what they find first.
Does some of that workflow seem familiar to some people? Or no, are we totally crazy? No, everyone's libraries are perfect, right? Just me, I'm the one.
So I just wanted to show you also how easy it is to, so when you're setting up Unifi, how easy it is to just quickly get stuff in there. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to upload stuff, and then how its automatic versioning and tagging work. So I don't know why this little thing is hiding my view, but anyways, yeah. So here I have some annotations that I want to upload, and I'm going to make sure that and so basically all of these, I have families inside of these subfolders, and all these subfolders, as they get uploaded, they're going to add a tag. So, and if you don't know what tags are, they're metadata tags that aid in searching. So I'm going to go ahead and put these guys in there. I just drag and drop them over. I think. Oh yeah. And then you can see that it added them down here. And then all I have to do is tell it which library I want to put it in. I'm going to put it in the SeaRUG demo library and tell it to upload. And it should only take a few seconds. Okay, and I'm done. And now I can go and search and find some of these. So I'm just going to type in star so we can see all of them. So here you can see are all the like 7 families that we just uploaded. Oh, it looks like there's a few more for some reason. Oh, I've searched the wrong library. Oops. There we go. There we go. So, so there they are, and you can see these tags right here are you can see the subfolder names in there. So now I just want to show you really quickly what happens when we add. So say, this was my initial upload, and now 2016 has come out. There's some things I've changed, and I want to upload some new families and upgrade some existing ones. So this pipe size tag is an existing one that was already in here. You can see it's right there. And then the pipe routing tag is a new one. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload those guys. Notice I haven't had to tell it anything about what the version is. So I'm just going to upload these guys. And then when you look down here, you can see that here's the routing tag and here's the pipe size tag. And this guy has got a little warning that says this file is already in the repository and it's going to be uploaded as a new version. So it knows that this is a different file, a different version of the same file. So I just need to pick the library and hit upload. Okay, it's done. So let's go back to search. Redo this. Okay, so I just want to look at this pipe size tag really quick because you can go in here and you can see its file history. It maybe is not quite updated yet. Okay, yeah, so it just took it a second for the server to process. But here you can see, so my initial upload, I uploaded a 2014 file, and then it created a 2015 and 2016 file. But when I uploaded a 2016 file, it got rid of this one here and made a new base file. So if when it moves to 2017, then it will automatically create a 2017 file from this base file. So, also one other thing that when I started looking at Unifi, I was wondering how these tags worked and what they do. But if somebody, for example, was looking for a tag for a clean out, but I had it in as a pipe fitting tag, you could just easily add a tag to that pipe fitting tag so that it would turn up when you typed in clean out tag. So that's kind of how they get used.
That's it. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. That's a pretty good walkthrough and pretty common what we see happen all the time. Is that kind of neat? Did that make sense to a lot of people? What he showed, how kind of that works, how the system tracks your files, helps maintain versions, a lot of that stuff. It's all It's some really cool things I was going to talk about also later, but I'm just trying to make sure in the interest of time that we get some really good content for you guys to get out of this meeting. So I think we will just go right into the panel discussion, which will be a lot more informative for you guys too. So with that, that's cool. I'll ask Chris and Ben and Rob to come up to the panel again, and we'll just kick this thing off real quick. But as we're getting these guys seated and set up, you guys have any more questions? I mean, I'll be here after the meeting if you guys want to just talk about some stuff or exchange information or get more information if you're interested. I'm always here, or you can always email me later too, or get in touch with whoever. So yeah, we're pretty easygoing people. So I think we're done with this. We can probably switch off the screen.
You should be.
Is your remote desktop? Yeah, we don't really need the screen. I'll just put this up so we can talk about it. I had another presentation I was going to go through to kind of break up so we didn't have like a monotonous hour-long panel, but I think everything's eating up our time pretty good, so this will be fine. We'll just jump right in, and this will be way cooler anyway. Trust me. You guys don't want to hear me talk about boring stuff. So today we brought together some pretty good minds, and you guys in the audience too. I hope a lot of this resonates well with you guys. One of the big elephants in the room, kind of that we don't talk about as an industry so much, more so, in my opinion, I think, is because we like to try to keep things close to the chest. It's just the way that AEC works, and which is why I think environments like these where we come to RUG groups and start talking about these things openly is so great, and why I love them. But the idea of how do you manage your content, right? Like how do you manage your RFAs and your detail libraries and your templates and all that stuff? How's that done? Everybody kind of does it differently, and everybody thinks that they kind of got it there. It works for them, but we don't really reach out too much across to other companies and possibly competitors or possibly other partners and say, how are you doing things? Here's how I'm doing it. You have a better, angle on this. So I'm really here to try to get that conversation kicked off, and that's another kind of core value that we have as Unifi too, that there's a lot of us that we feel really, really passionate about this. Is also one of the reasons why I even joined the company is because of the way that we feel about this. We really want to engage you guys as industry experts and help bring some of this stuff to light and help better the industry forward as a whole, not just one individual company or one individual clients who pays a lot of money for this stuff. So with that said, we're going to be talking about some of these ideas about content strategy, content management techniques, maybe what worked, what didn't work, and some of the stuff that these guys come across on a daily basis. And like I said, I hope a lot of this probably resonates well. Another thing is we're really open. This is an open discussion too. So if you guys have any ideas or questions, feel free, raise your hand. Shout it out. It's not a closed panel by any means. So to get this started, I have a question I'm going to pose for Ben and Chris over there. And this question is pretty simple: is what is your firm's current strategy right now? What are you guys doing to manage your content at a strategic level? And what kind of unique requirements maybe were really influential to create that strategy? So let's start with Chris in the middle.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Is the mics working up there?
Mic working?
Testing.
Closer? Yeah. Is that better? No?
It's on.
Okay. I think it's on.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, our basic content strategy, and has been for a while, is we store our files in 3 locations. We have a firm library, which is all custom content, anything that we've built, anything that we've grabbed over the years, and it's broken down into as few folders as possible. One of the things that we like to do when accessing content, so a very similar workflow to the way Unifi does, is we bring up our library window and go to one of the subfolders. Let's say if we're looking for a diffuser, we would go to our air systems, air fittings subfolder, and then we just type the search value into the upper right-hand dialog box of what we're looking for, and Windows will start to narrow it down for us. So granted, you have to know what the file name is you're looking for. You don't have any metadata or anything like that. So, but it does, for people who are looking for stuff like that, if I'm looking for a diffuser, just start typing diffuser and it will start to narrow the list down. Once you find the diffuser you want, just reach over and drag it from one screen to the other and pop it into Revit, and then you can just drop one in. So that's, very similar workflow to the way Unifi works, just with, a little less intelligence. Our second library would be the out-of-the-box Revit library, which we keep one for each version of Revit. So every time we install Revit, it comes with a new library, and we move that onto our server. And so right underneath our firm library, you'll see the Revit 2015, 2014, 2013, and whatever versions we're maintaining. Our current library, we try to keep it 2 releases behind where we're working in Revit. So right now, we're primarily working in 16, so our library is actually all in version 14. And that guarantees that if a 14 project rears its head up, which has happened, matter of fact, I had a 12 project rear its head up 6 months ago and didn't know what to do because I didn't have 12 anymore. So we try to keep everything in 14 right now, and then when we make the move to full-time 17, we'll probably go and upgrade our library to 15, or maybe 16, depending on, how we're feeling about it. But we have, quote-unquote, prematurely upgraded in the past and gotten burned because all of a sudden someone says, oh, I'm working in 14, I can't open any families. I can't load any content whatsoever from our firm library, and there's no way to back up. You can't, short of going back to a backup tape from 6 months ago, you can't back up, okay? And then the last strategy we have is we have what's called a project library. In each of our project folders, we have a library where project-specific content is stored. So when you make that special door that's only going to be used once, it sits in that library, okay? And what we've been telling all of our users to do is, you make a piece of content, no matter what you do, you always save it back to the project library. And then later, we'll go grab that stuff and pull it out and drop it into our firm library with a little cleanup or something like that, okay? Do we do that as much as we should? No, because a lot of people are going scrounging around in old project libraries for content that they created, 2 years ago or whatever, when they can't find it in the firm library. But at the very least, that does keep our firm library relatively clean. I'm pretty confident in what's in there right now. I'm sure there's some junk floating around that I haven't run across, but for the most part, I think it's a pretty clean library and it's in pretty good shape. The other thing we do is we have a script that runs every night that deletes all the library backup files, so everything that's 001, 002, 003. So we just have a script that runs on our server every night and just blows all of those out because frankly, they're good for about 5 minutes. That's about how long those backup files are valid for, because then you edit them and then they're toast. So there's no reason to keep them longer than overnight, and they just burn up disk space like you wouldn't believe. And so we just delete them, and it makes it hard for people to find stuff because they're searching through you type diffuser, and you're going to get air diffuser, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way through. Okay. And then the other thing that we finally did, which we did about 2 years ago, was we went and customized all of our family templates so that they have our parameters preloaded into them, they have all of our content preloaded into them, they have our line weights, and all that stuff is preloaded. So when you go to start a new family, you just hit new family, pick the category you want, and you automatically get all of the categories, all of the templates, all the shared parameters, and everything else that we're using on a regular basis is preloaded into the template, okay? Making those templates is a big deal. It takes forever because Revit won't let you save a family template. So you basically have to go through isolate all your templates, turn them into regular families, and then go back and rename them all into the right extension. And so the main reason that we did all this was when we first started in Revit, the first thing we started doing was modifying the out-of-the-box content and then saving it back on top of itself. And then Revit 5 comes along and we install it and it overwrote all of our content. And so we were scrambling for a couple weeks there trying to figure out where all our old content went and why it wasn't there anymore. And then we realized, gee, maybe we better make a third library where Revit doesn't overwrite it. And then we also installed the Revit library on people's C drives so that if someone's at home working offline and can't VPN,
Yeah.
then
Imagine that.
they have access to the content. They have access to some content. So it's better, hey, we don't have the right chair, but we're going to put a chair in here, and then when we get back to the office, we'll just swap it out with the other chair. Okay, so that's normally how when we're working offline if we can't VPN in or something like that. And that's kind of our strategy until we switch to some sort of managed system.
So wow, that's really, really in-depth. Thank you so much, Chris. So is that pretty similar? How many of you in the audience here or in the group, is that pretty similar to something that you guys use? Just curious, show of hands. Oh, about a quarter to a half. Okay, cool. Ben, what about you? What's your guys' strategy? Well, we obviously know you use Unifi, but
Yeah, so, I mean, we're still actually transitioning into Unifi, so we only started a couple months ago, and most of the time has been spent with me organizing my previous libraries and getting them ready to upload. And then I've uploaded them, and now I've been fixing stuff. So,
cool. So it's like a hybrid then.
But yeah, we basically, previously we had a system that was similar to what Chris did, but probably I just lacked the discipline of going through and keeping it all clean, and so it turned into a mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And in his defense, ours is frequently a mess and needs to be cleaned up on a regular basis. So that's normal.
Yeah. The other thing, let's see here. Yeah, we basically, we store basically all of our standard company libraries or company content that can be stored up there. So all of our RFAs and system families and those kinds of things are stored up on Unifi in a couple of different libraries. Then we also have, we've also uploaded all of the out-of-the-box content in a separate library up there as well. So basically we have access to almost everything that we need up there. There's only a couple things like project templates and things like that that are not up there, so we have to keep those on our server location. Lookup tables are another thing that need to be on the local server. And I assume that Unifi is working on a solution for some of those things as well.
Definitely.
Do you want me to go on with?
Oh no, I think you guys are answering the questions great. I just, like I said, just really curious to see maybe your guys' strategies and get some information out to these guys to hopefully maybe if it. That's what I love, being in the audience and listening to how other people are doing it. Either quietly to be like, oh yeah, I'm way better than that, or, sharing, and that's what it's all about. So that's really cool.
I can do a quick add-on for that too, because a lot of our history over at MG2 has been, we have a mixed bag of CAD and Revit, and we're in multiple applications, right? So we're a little all over the place, as I'm sure some people still have, split libraries. And that's another challenge too, managing, because you still have to have very similar content. So right now we keep a lot of our stuff on secure drive. I mean, it's a read-only drive that's accessible by everybody, so they can only pull stuff out, and a lot of our built content is on a hidden drive that certain people have access to. And upgrade as we need, so people try not to get too confused. A lot of it's out of the box. We keep we keep our out of the box stuff currently on our local hard drives. It just seemed easier. We have a lot of laptops, and so we don't have to connect all the time. Plus, with local hard drive space nowadays is so cheap. We're just like you pile it up, right? So that hasn't been too much of a problem there. And we also get a lot of content from clients. So we do work with other clients that use Revit, and so we also have to manage their libraries, and they don't want us to touch it. They wanted to kind of keep it private for this team, and so we have to get rather creative for kind of partitioning drives and locations where content is accessed from.
That's actually like a whole nother can of worms, huh, that we could open, is like being the custodian and manager of other people's content that you're not allowed to touch. Like, that's a whole nother thing, right? That
Exactly.
You can't do anything with. That's really cool. So thank you guys. Hey Rob, I got a next one for you. Why don't we just continue on with the next one? Next question that's kind of a big one, I think, for all of us is like, what are your policies on getting new content, right? And using those in projects. Do you guys have an in-house team that builds all that stuff for you? Do you guys rely primarily on like getting content from other websites, manufacturers' websites, or even I've seen like people outsourcing content. What's your guys' policies on that? internally?
We have a security block on Revit City. Right up there with the gambling and porn sites. No, we definitely have some policies in place for that. It's really hard to put a lockdown on those types of things, quite honestly. So we just try our best to keep reminding people of where to go and get things. We have a series of websites that we have on our little internal, intranet page that we recommend that people go to get content from. So like, Seek's always good. RCAT. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's a few good ones out there. We don't really buy too much. A lot of the stuff that we need typically is built or found if we need it. One thing that we definitely urge against is taking content directly from a site and putting it right into the project. That's definitely on our standards list of how to review a content. Go in there, clean it up. On the architectural level, some of that content is just way too heavy. So not necessarily just the metadata necessarily, it's really the weight of some of these things. So we definitely bring it in, bring it to your project library. We have the same thing, local project library, clean it up, and, all right, very good. A little bit?
They're not so sensitive.
Okay. And do that before you bring it into your project. They may or may not eventually make it into the main library, because we try our best to pull out good content and move it there as well. So, but yeah, we have a little protocol list of how you clean up a file. Oh.
So I have a question. Does Unifi have a way to qualify Revit family files like star systems?
Yes,
Yes,
we
it
do
does.
actually. Yeah, there's a couple ways to handle that, and I can go through and how to do that. But yeah, we do have a rating system where it's actually proved pretty common for teams when you have like a committee, right? You have a committee of people who want to go through and talk about stuff, and that's actually one of the questions is how's your content vetted? But yeah, we do have a star rating system, and there's also actually an approval workflow process built into the system that you can have anyone or certain sets of people request types of content, and if you have certain people to build it or go find it, they can fulfill those requests, and there's a lot of cool constraints you can put on that. It's very, very, very neat. Yeah, go ahead.
Do your panelists have a naming convention that they use or care to talk about? Maybe not specific, but...
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, whatever it may be. You can hear case arguments for starting with your firm name or project name as a prefix or a suffix. People definitely have, it's usually one of those two, acronyms for whether it be a project or a firm name. We actually have some systems in place where if you use something directly from actually this is a relatively new system that we're putting into place. If you are using something from our content site or from somewhere else, you actually have to rename it from the library name to the project name. That way we know, and it can identify it as unique or modified from the library. So like MG2 would be a prefix for all of our approved stuff that's on our library, all the company standard things. So if it came to a specific project ABC, we'd know right away just by searching through the families list, we'd know that was unique to that project or either modified for that project.
Can you maintain that project library, so if, say you're going back into the project and you had an updated family, you'd be able to replace it without junking up your content? In other words, an origin may have changed and you keep using the project-specific versus the...
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a judgment call for sure on those types of projects because some of those modifications you make are unique. But then sometimes they can identify as being, hey, you know what, this would actually be really cool to add to the library. And that's really where that comes from. So we may add another option to that, family O2, or maybe you have a descriptor in there that identifies it as unique. A little unlike, you create project families right out of the gates, or as you pull them out, always save out unique ones. We actually kind of, right now, just wait. We just run, because all those families sit inside the project, and if we, at post, we'll go through and pull out, or maybe extract all those families and filter through them if we want to after that, so.
In our project libraries, we don't enforce any naming convention, just because people are downloading stuff and people are making stuff, and it's not a really big deal. And realistically, there's only, at worst, maybe 100 files in a project directory at any given time. In our library, we do enforce that, and it's our company prefix dash the category and then dash the base family name, and that's it. We don't have any limitations on the length of it, so we've got some that are pretty long. But and then to Rob's point, if we do download manufacturer content and modify it, then it becomes ours, and we will rename it as such. If we download manufacturer content and stick it in the project directly, which from certain sources we will do that, because there's certain sources that I trust that we can go ahead and just download directly from, then we will go ahead and put that in the project library and keep it there. But then we've had requests for some people who said, I went to download this family and I got their entire zip file, which had 250 files in it. And I really like their content, and I would not want to have to download that zip file every time I wanted a single light. Okay, so thinking of some light manufacturers, you get all their lights. And so what we've done is we've gone into our library and put sort of this subfolder down there with manufacturer. And then inside the manufacturer, we've got the various folders for each manufacturer name, and we will download their content directly to that location so people can access it. But it's not been edited, it's not been changed, there's been nothing done to it, because one of my other points that we run into a lot is someone will download something from one of these manufacturers and save it into our library as our own, but not name it correctly, and then go out 6 months later and download it again and save it over the top of the one that we modified. And so we try to keep the manufacturer content separate from our own, and the real key there is where it's located in our library, and B, that it's named with our name and has our parameters plugged into it, versus the manufacturers, which just is coming directly downloaded. And so you can go download it again and overwrite it, and it won't hurt anything.
Yeah, and I just want to, just a quick emphasis on cleanup. It's like, I don't care what your procedure is, just make sure there's one that's about cleaning up downloaded files. I mean, just get creative, doesn't matter, but you got to come up with one, because also the baggage that comes along with those files when you drop them into your project just creates a lot of bloat and a lot of stuff to dig through just to find the annotation that you want to use, because you have to filter through all theirs and all their custom lines styles as well. So definitely have a cleanup process.
We also have a fairly simple naming strategy for stuff that's in our projects, and basically the name just needs to be descriptive enough so you can tell what it is, and then if we've changed it in any way, it needs to have -inv on the end so that we know that it's been changed by us. But one thing that we do is we do also name types. We have a strategy or a naming convention for types, so that especially with stuff that there's like a type like plumbing fixtures, for example, where you have like a P1 that has many instances. We also add that P number right into the type name so that it's really easy for people to find the right one that they're working with. So,
and we will often rename the types once they get into a project.
yeah.
So in our library, it's just going to be toilet, bowl, or toilet elongated bowl with tank. But then when that gets pulled into the project, then we'll rename that P1 toilet elongated bowl with tank, and so on and so forth, so that it makes more sense to the users. But the cool part is that once it's in the project, of course, it doesn't impact the library in any way, shape, or form. And so we just let the end users fix that in the project. And we never save it back over the top of the original file.
Oh, wow, that's really great.
It would go to the project library if it ever got pulled out of Revit.
Perfect. No, that's, yeah, exactly. You got to make sure it's good before it comes back out, like Rob said. That kind of segues perfectly into the next piece. And so I was going to ask about how that content's actually vetted. So meaning when you go about acquiring that, it seems like there's a big policy that allows for, in all your firms, that allows for downloads of other content, but just make sure that it gets transformed into kind of fit with your standards. So then you guys, I'm hearing that it's kind of left up to the end user to ensure that those policies and processes get enforced and put in. Do you guys have anything, like any committees or any one single point of contact that actually has to approve that content before it gets placed into projects? Or is it kind of like what I was hearing was hopefully just leaving it up to kind of your designers and your people?
We have kind of a hybrid process where there's certain stuff that people are allowed to just download and put in however they want, and then certain stuff needs to be pulled off of the Unifi system. But the nice thing is that Unifi has a workflow built in for editing, and so if people find a problem with a family, then they can make kind of a ticket for that to get fixed, and then somebody who's qualified to make sure that it's up to standards, quality standards, has to approve it before it can be put into our library as a standard. So it's kind of hybrid that way.
We have a kind of a similar process to what Ben just mentioned, and but yeah, we try our best. We've got a lot of people working on various projects, and so it's really hard to, we don't want to create a bottleneck for content, at least as best as possible anyways. But we do try to just keep people aware. I mean, we have a kind of a committee in the office that meets on a regular basis, and those are types of topics that we try to cover and, updates the standards. So we just try to keep it fresh in people's minds to do these things for the, the BIM leads or BIM managers of the project, or model managers, excuse me. Because kind of ideally they're ultimately responsible, but we can't babysit them at the same time. Content that does come back into the library, like through Unifi, that actually does get submitted right now. And those you don't get a large percentage of content that comes from projects into the new library. It's pretty small, so right now it's pretty manageable by one person to basically verify. But we try to keep at least just keep people aware of it. So it seems like training and reminders, it helps. It's not an end-all, it's not a perfect system, but it helps.
We actually allow people to, anybody who has an idea for a way to improve a standard family is allowed to submit it. So like if they want to take one that they've downloaded from Unifi and modify it, they can go and upload it, and it basically makes an upload request that has to be approved or rejected by a manager. So we don't want to stifle people's creativity, because they're the ones that are using the content, and so a lot of times they have ideas on how to improve it so it's easier to use, and so.
Yeah, and we kind of keep a running list of locations where people can download good content from. So we have a list of these, manufacturers and suppliers that are producing good Revit content, as well as a list of ones that you will never go to, Revit City. And when I say good Revit content, I don't just mean small, because we've actually downloaded a number of files that we consider to be really good, and they were humongous, but they were worth it because they got us what we wanted to do. But we've also downloaded a lot of files from these manufacturers that are not only, it's not a file size issue thing, it's a matter of, does this thing really work? And so we'll download something, we downloaded an open web joist from a manufacturer, and they told us that this open web joist would conform to all of their various layouts. And so we plopped it into a model and went forward with it, and then discovered later that it will only conform to the layouts if they're regular. If they change any of the webs to pick up panel points or anything like that, this family can't do it. and they kind of failed to mention that little bit. And so we ended up having to pull it all out, and now I basically have taken them off my list of, you don't download from them because we're going to get burned. You can't trust them. When they say that it can do stuff that it can't do, then you have to really wonder about it. So.
Do you manage LOD of your models or of your families?
Not really, no. Not really a problem with. Oh, the question was, do you manage LOD? It's not really an issue anymore. Not with workstations that have a gajillion gigs of RAM and all sorts of stuff like that. We really don't run into that a whole lot.
I mean, for consistency of presentation.
No, because most of them have the ability to drop down to single line of some sort. Either just a box or whatever. Most of the content we're finding is either like hyper LOD, i.e. it's got every nut and bolt modeled, or it's a box that just has intelligence to it. And we consider both of those valid for various uses. Even in construction, as long as the box is the right size and has the proper data that you can find the thing again, then that's okay. But I don't worry so much about LOD. It's easy to add a little bit of data or a little bit of geometry to something to make it a little bit more LOD. But for the most part, as long as it's the right size and behaves in a manner that we would expect, then we consider that to be good content.
I find more often than not, the models or the families are a little heavier than you ever want them to be. So that's why we go through a cleanup process. But yeah, you're right. Depending on how your visibilities are set up, you can actually simplify them with your views. Of course, medium fine actually does usually a pretty good job at getting your document level model.
Most of the lights we find, from some of the big lighting companies have all of their fins and wires and bolts and nuts and everything modeled. But almost everybody is now using visibility controls so that when you bring it into an 1/8 inch view, it's just a box.
Yeah. I do wish they offered a design level model. That's what I really wish, that manufacturers did both.
Yeah.
They want you to buy it though. So
Yeah, I know.
Maybe that's your argument there, Bob. Great. So
We had another
about,
question up here.
Question? Yeah.
Do you guys find that you use more families that are just kind of a one-size-fits-all kind of family, or do you find yourself downloading manufacturers kind of each time and being more specific?
It depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. We often start off with a one-size-fits-all, and then later, as we get further into it, if we're going to specify something specific, we would then go grab that specific thing. And again, it depends on what it is. If it's a light, lights are kind of important, and they're all different, and they're all different shapes and sizes and have different light patterns, et cetera, et cetera. So we try to grab those whenever we can. But something like a desk or a chair, as long as it's the right size and can be represented for, take up the space that we need it to take up, we don't get real worried about it until we have to start rendering, and even then, sometimes we'll substitute the rendered one for the real one, or for the one we use in Revit anyway, so.
We find a lot of times that if you try to make a family that's one size fits all, and this is kind of going in a little bit different direction than what Chris was talking about, but like if you try to make a family that does too many things, it ends up being a disaster. So we have certain families that are more generic that we use for certain purposes, like diffusers. We want all of our diffusers to be the same. We don't want people grabbing, 350 from Titus's website or anything like that. We want people to use our diffusers so they always look the same. But on the flip side, you almost never have an air handler that's the same from one project to the other. So.
Question.
Can you provide host details, and if not, what are some of your...
Yes, we do, actually. Yeah, we do host details.
Yes, and it's awesome.
Yeah, drafting views, right? Yeah, another question. Sure. I'll repeat the question. Yeah, sorry. We're
She
pretty
was
bad about
asking
that.
if Unifi was able to host and manage details, like drafting views. And yeah, absolutely. That's is our big next adventure, is converting all of our details and detail libraries, Wyatt, into Unifi.
Yeah, actually on that, real quick, just gonna get a poll of hands. How many of you guys like try to manage details in like container libraries right now, where you have like a Revit project that only has like nothing but details in it, and that's like your standard? That's pretty common, right? Yeah. And it would be kind of nice to have like separate details so you don't have to do that, right?
And just as a little tip and trick, if you take those RVT files and turn them into RTE files, then nobody can accidentally save over the top of them.
Unless it's work shared. Hopefully it's not. The question was for details if they are drafting views or model views. That what we use or what we like to use or what the software supports.
Yeah, they have to be drafting views. They have to be drafting views. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically your static detail library. But you can also pile in all your components to help you build hybrid details.
Can you bring one detail in from Unifi that has X number of components that are all named one, and then you bring in another detail that has the same components? Does it duplicate like it does in other components?
No, it won't duplicate them. It actually it knows and uses the same ones that are there. But one of the better parts about it that we kind of got a big benefit out of the way that we were doing it. We also handle anything that if you ever have reference views to other drafting views or model views, all that stuff comes along with it as well. So if you have like one drafting view that maybe references a couple other detail views for whatever, for enlargements or things, and you say, oh, I want this one, but it requires a bunch of other stuff, that'll all come with it as well, it's pretty cool. But yeah, we do support that. So I wanted to kind of, we're running close on time here, so I just wanted to maybe get one or two more questions from my list, and then again, if anybody has any other questions, please, interrupt us. These are all great stuff. Thank you guys very much. So I was really curious, what's your guys' strategies on distributing your content to your teams, right? If they're maybe not in your office, because in the office is really easy, but maybe if they're out of the office, like we'll say, for example, today we have Inventrix, and we were showing some things over a VPN connection. So that's one way to do it. What's your strategies for that, for sharing content outside of your firm, either with teams or with your partners?
Well, ours is a pretty short answer. We don't do a lot of outside family sharing. I mean, we share our models. They can, with our project teams, obviously they have access to gather up those models or those families out of those as they need. We notice for more or less we don't use a lot of the same content, so it's pretty safe there. But as far as the project team goes, we're okay with sharing that and just letting them go into the family and use as needed. Yeah, we have, as far as our own staff when they travel, we have the local libraries, VPN connection right now, so.
If we are sharing with a consultant or a partner and we're just doing upload download, then we'll map a box folder to one of our network drives just to and drop all the content in there. But more and more we're doing collaboration type sharing with Revit Server or collaboration for Revit. And so if we're doing Revit Server, we'll make a virtual Revit server and they'll have access to that machine, and then we'll map a copy of our library basically to that virtual machine. So it copies our library over to there, but it's read-only for them. And so they'll have direct access to our library, but they can't add to it or mess with it. And then if we're using like collaboration for Revit, we'll use like A360 or something like that to serve, because then everybody's on the same system. And we'll just either sync our library up to there or something to that effect. That's typically how we've been sharing.
Very cool. What about you guys, Ben?
We typically we haven't really had to share any of our content outside of the office since we just have one office. But it is nice to be able, since the Unifi is cloud hosted, I don't have to install the the out-of-the-box libraries on anybody's computer anymore, because it's all on the cloud.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you. Well, thank you guys very much. I know we're kind of wrapping up here on time. I know probably everybody here is really hungry. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate you guys' answers. I really hope that everybody kind of maybe got something out of this or got some ideas or even start the conversation. I know, and if you guys want to rant or rave on it, you can hit me on Twitter, on email if you want to talk some more. And I'm pretty sure these guys would be open to talking some more conversations as well. So with that, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and